Hi, in this session we will have a look at Microsoft BitLocker administration and monitoring. Enterprise deployments of BitLocker are typically configured and managed either on-site by a local administrator or using a WMI, Windows Management Instrumentation interface. And some custom scripting support is done if you are going to use WMI. Current group policy then allows BitLocker recovery information to be stored in an enterprise existing Active Directory domain services infrastructure in order to remotely store discovery keys. Managing BitLocker drive encryption in an IT environment can become complex, as IT administrators need to define policy, target computers, and deploy policies. Microsoft BitLocker administration and monitoring is a new solution developed for configuration and management of BitLocker policies. It provides tools for managing BitLocker devices encryption, the secure storage of key recovery information, status reporting of BitLocker policy compliance, and IT support tools for recovery key. Let us have a look at BitLocker administration and monitoring features. These features can be installed on a single server or can be distributed across multiple servers. So this is a server on which I have installed Microsoft BitLocker administration and monitoring solution. So let us go and open SQL Server Management Studio. It is taking a while to open SQL Server Management Studio. Right. So it will now give me an option to connect to server. Here it comes. Let us connect to this local server. And the server should appear in the Object Explorer on the left frame. Go to database node, expand it, and then you can see two databases out here for Microsoft BitLocker administration and monitoring. The first one, MBAM Compliance Status Database, stores the current BitLocker enforcement status for each BitLocker client. And MBAM Recovery and Hardware Database stores the recovery key information and hardware profiles from each of the computers with the client agent installed. You may note that to have the Microsoft BitLocker administration and monitoring database and reporting features, minimum of Microsoft SQL Server R2 database and reporting services are required on either the standard, developer, enterprise, or data center editions. Now let us go and expand the security node and logins and have a look in here. So under logins you can see that there are 3 access accounts: MBAM Compliance, Auditing, DB Access, MBAM Recovery and Hardware DB Access, and Report Users. BitLocker administration monitoring installs 2 user groups with access to the compliance status and recovery and hardware databases. The report users group is used to authorize the reporting features using in the administration web page. So this was just to tell you what all and where the information gets into SQL database. Let us close this now. By default, BitLocker administration monitoring provides a group policy template that will help you configure the enterprise BitLocker enforcement settings as well as typical enterprise BitLocker enforcement policies. Let us go and open group policy management. You can alternatively open group policy management by going to Start, All Programs, Administrative Tools, and in from there. So we have one forest, contoso.com, under which a domain contoso.com is there. We will be going to make a new policy in here, so we'll right click this domain and we'll say create a GPO in this domain and link it here. So name we will give mbam configuration, and then we'll click OK. You can see that the GPO comes in here. So let us go and edit this policy. Right click, say edit. It will open me group policy management editor. So here is the editor. Since I'm going to apply the policy on computers, so I'll go to computer configuration, expand policies, administrative templates, Windows components, and then I can see MDOP, mbam, BitLocker management in here. So this node represents a superset of the existing BitLocker drive encryption policies available in Windows Server 2008 and 2008 R2 schema, as well as the BitLocker admin management recovery and reporting policies. Let us further expand it. And then go and click data recovery. In the details pane, double click configure mbam backend service, and then go and enable it. In backend service endpoint, I'll just copy and paste the service location, and then let this be recovery password and key package. To click OK, I'll just hide this taskbar. So that I'll be able to see OK button. Click OK. Now go to reports and then edit configure status reporting service, enable it, enter the status reporting service endpoint, let the frequency be 720 minutes, then click OK. And go to client management, open configure client, checking status frequency, and then enable it. So this is the interval by which mbam will verify BitLocker policy enforcement and compliance status on client machine. By default it is 90 minutes polling interval. We'll click OK, and then we will close the GPO editor. So far now we have made changes to some of the policies for Microsoft BitLocker administration monitoring. Now let us go and expand the domain. You see a marketing OU in here. We'll go to Marketing OU, right click and say create GPO in this domain. In the new GPO dialog box, we will say marketing BitLocker enforcement. Click OK. We'll further go in there, edit it under configurations, expand policies, administrative templates, Windows components, and then go to MDOP, MBAM, BitLocker management. Let's go in operating system drive, and then operating system drive encryption settings, we will enable it, and we will enable it with both TPM and PIN. We will allow enhanced PIN for startup. Minimum length for PIN will be 8. I'll click OK. I'll go to removable drive, and then we'll like to control the use of BitLocker on removable drives as well. I'll enable it and then click OK. So by doing this, both my fixed as well as removable drives will be encrypted using BitLocker. Now we'll go to client management and we'll enable hardware compatibility checking. I'll just enable it, say OK, and I'm done with the GPO editor. So the people who are working in marketing, I have made a group policy to encrypt their drives, fixed drives, as well as even if they go and plug in the external drive on the machine, that will also get encrypted. I have done specifically because these guys, they are on move always, they're working off the office premises. So this is what I'm telling is how the client agent user experience will be. So when a client logs onto a domain joined machine with the Microsoft BitLocker Administration Monitoring Client Agent installed and the appropriate policies to enforce BitLocker encryption, the user will see the following wizard if the machine is not secured with BitLocker, and they don't have any option to exit this. Either they have to start the BitLocker encryption or they can only postpone it. If the TPM needs to be cleared and ownership taken, the wizard will notate that a shutdown will be required before the encryption process can begin. After the user clicks start, the wizard will perform a system check to look for any issues that will conflict with the encryption process. When the TPM needs to be cleared and ownership taken, the wizard will prompt for a full shutdown, like in here you can see, and manual restart of the computer. After TPM ownership has been taken and the reboot performed, the wizard will continue with the encryption process. If there are no issues or TPM configuration needed, the wizard will continue directly to create a new PIN page. If the policy is configured to require the PIN, which is there in this case, user can go and enter their PIN and can click create PIN. If the PIN entered by user meets the policy requirements, the wizard will begin the encryption of the policy specified drive. And this progress will progress as the encryption is done. This dialog can be closed while encryption takes place, and the user will be able to work normally during the encryption process. Otherwise, wizard will display a success status at the end of the encryption process, like this. Now let me walk you guys through the compliance reporting. So in an enterprise where Windows 7 machines are running, you have implemented BitLocker encryption. Like to see how many of the machines are compliant, how many are non-compliant. So let us open Internet Explorer. The default page will take me to the BitLocker administration monitoring page. This is now actually will be querying SQL database, which I told you, and will be pulling the information out from SQL. So in navigation, I'll just go and click reports. On the compliance and audit reports page, I'll click enterprise compliance report. The enterprise compliance report will display in a moment, showing the encryption compliance status of the entire enterprise. So here is the report. Now let us drop down compliance status and we'll uncheck the compliance box, and then we'll go and say view report for all of the non-compliant machines. So I can see there are 2 nodes which are not compliant out of total 7 nodes. So 5 of my machines, I can see that they are compliant as per this report. We can actually get into the details of the computers which are not compliant by going to computer compliance report. So we will search for user icon. So user icon has a variety of managed computer that he's logged onto. Let us pull this bar down. So let us open up a client 7 used by Acon to review the status details. So these are the encryption state. So it is disk is still encrypting, it has not yet finished encryption. But since the encryption has not been done for his Dell Latitude machine, it is still non-compliant. Similarly, you can go and expand the clients and have a look as to what state they are in, as they are reflecting non-compliant for this user. So that's all in how you can actually go and implement Microsoft BitLocker administration and monitoring features. You can enable it on your server and then pass it through group policies to all Windows 7 machine in your enterprise. You can go and create group policies differently for different OUs and get all of the drive encrypted using BitLocker. Thanks for watching.